It's over. Yeah. Hey Russia, you motherfucker. Did you really think Ukraine would be a sucker? Another bitch you could suck and then chew. I spit it out like every other bitch you used to. But not this time, low, cause this SMO is just another name for failure. What a shit show. The world is wiser. You paper tiger, your federation's breaking up. We will divide ya. Get out! Get out! Get the fuck out of here! Get out! Get out! Cry me a river, not a tear. And you're done, you're looting. You try to take what isn't yours with your 3-day war. Well, how's it working out for you? Is it going to the plan? Did the lifts inside your shoes make you feel a bigger man? And now your fleet sunk, you little street punk. It's at the bottom of the sea, a rusting pile of coral junk, just like your bomber fleet. It's a strategic joke, trapped inside the spider web, slowly going up in smoke. Get out, get out, get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. And kindergartens, civilians in their homes, churches, shops, and market stalls. Your missiles, bombs, and drones. And pregnant women, you don't care, sleeping children too. You kill for money, nothing else. Your mothers must be so proud of you. So many war crimes for you to do time. The Hague is rolling out the carpet for the red slime. You're such a user, corrupt abuser. Your economy is toast, you fascist loser. You know it won't last, your time is long past. So take your oil and gas and stick it up your ass. And now the end game will bring the real pain. The final word you ever hear, glory to Ukraine. Get out, get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear. Get out, get out. Take your bullets and your fear. Get out, get out. No one wants your rusty. You're just a liar, the world's pariah. Imperial rebuild was your desire, but now it's too late. You didn't calculate that we are so much stronger than your fear and your hate. My damn was just a start that set us all apart. A passion built on freedom, man, it's coming from the heart. So learn your lesson, we'll take it back then. It's 1989 all over again. Get the fuck out of here. Get out, get out. Cry me a river, not a tear.
Hello, my dear friends and family. Captain Starsky joins the chat, and frankly speaking, I just finished my coffee before the very stream, so I will be suffering until the end. So good to see you, my friends. There's our brave moderators there, Newman and Katya, and also my dear family on the other side of the screen. Today we will talk about this, what's gonna happen after the Iranian operation, what it means to Ukraine, what it means to Europe, and generally the rest of the world, because the information is very critical and interesting. And also, we already have our legendary people here from Cardiff. My prayers to you, my best wishes, my warmest rays of energy and positive to the legendary people of Cardiff. Of course, as always, also London, United States, Canada, Australia, and Germany, of course, and many, many other countries. So, let's talk about the recent events, because we know that Khamenei, the bloody murderer, the dictator, basically the shaitan himself, got eliminated in Iran. How exactly was he eliminated? He was eliminated successfully. We know, for example, from the reports of Sahal, based on those reports, we can imagine that Khamenei was killed during the very, very first missile strikes on Iran. He was killed in his residence, so he was followed by the Israeli intelligence. They observed him entering or staying in his residence, and the first missiles that hit Iran on that day, that very morning, were the missiles that actually made Khamenei and a bunch of his military leadership better people, because they will never do bad things anymore to his own people and to Ukrainians as well. Which is fantastic, which is absolutely amazing, and people are probably asking there in the chat. I saw the commentaries about the deflection from Epstein scandal, of course, but people are asking, so does it mean that Trump finally opened his eyes and he's now fighting against dictators and everything? My friends, the answer to this is Khamenei was eliminated, obviously, because he wasn't Putin. That's basically all. And we will talk about this just a bit more, because it's very interesting to understand, first of all, how exactly Putin allowed Trump to eliminate Khamenei, right? I think a lot of people ask this question since basically since the Venezuelan operation. How exactly did Putin allow this? How does it work generally when Putin is signing those strategic partnerships left and right with different dictators, and then those dictators get smacked by the United States? Why is it happening? So, in case of Iran, first of all, and correct me if I'm wrong there in the chat. Sounds good. All right, thank you very much. So, how did Putin allow this? Allow is the wrong verb, my friends, because to think about this, Russia isn't really in the position to stop Trump from doing what he's doing. Russia can object, Russia can posture, maybe Russia can retaliate asymmetrically. We're talking about the hybrid tools, but it cannot reliably prevent this attack against Iran without escalating into the direct conflict with the United States and Israel, which is, let's say, a step that Moscow historically avoids, right? Because in order to avoid it, Russia traditionally uses its hybrid tools, which cannot be responded to in conventional military way. We're talking sabotage, we're talking assassinations, terrorist attacks, cyber attacks, drone warfare, combat chemicals and things like that, but always wearing no patches like Russians usually do, green man, whatever. So that's one thing. Russia will never be using. Sorry, Katya. Yes, Ayatollah got improved in his residence. Okay, I think that he was literally running to his fridge, to pick some shit and then return back to the bunker. He decided to meet several of his generals and military leadership, and then he got slapped. So that's the story, all right. Returning to Russia, we know that Russia will be reacting in hybrid ways, as they always do. Realistically, Russia's options in regards to this US/Israeli attack on Iran, Russia's options are actually very limited. That is based on what we see, all right, in the reality. First of all, they have diplomatic tools, United Nations coalition building messaging, screaming in the United Nations, basically what we already had chance to see, right? Also, in case regime survives, not Khamenei, but the regime, because we know that the Iranian Islamic Guards, that huge terrorist organization, keeps striking Arabic countries right now and attempting to strike American forces as well. So if this regime survives, then Russia can retaliate with deliveries of different weaponry, intelligence sharing, electronic warfare support, and things like that, all right? Besides that, Russia can also retaliate with asymmetric measures like cyber warfare, harassment, and their typical operations, all right, like Grugasha always does. And can Russia actually, like theoretically, all right, shoot down US or Israeli aircraft? Of course, I don't see this happening at all, because Russia cannot take this risk without getting directly involved in the escalation that can generally bring to the World War III. We understand that they will not do that. Trump isn't happy about the leader being killed. Israel forced USA into nation building. Another interesting point. Why Putin allowed this to happen while having strategic partnership, right? Because both Iran and Russia signed strategic partnership. They called it overwhelming strategic partnership. And also they had the same strategic partnership with Venezuela, they have it with Cuba, they have it with North Korea. This strategic partnership is not a NATO-style military defensive pact. To think about this. So it's widely considered when we hear this coming from different channels everywhere in the social media. It is widely considered in the internet that Russia's strategic partnership with Iran sounds a lot like security backing, right? Like the actual military aid. But the key here is what is legally, politically, and realistically obligated in this cooperation. So the defense cooperation is not a mutual defense alliance, because, for example, in case of Russia and North Korea, they have a treaty, and that treaty is actually military alliance. It is written there and stated there that in case North Korea or Russia are attacked, they will be defending each other militarily. In case of Venezuela, Iran, or Cuba, of course, those are not the military alliances, all right? They're strategic partnerships, but they are not obligating those countries to defend each other. And it's very important because Moscow can, of course, claim that it's honoring the relationship with Iran while not being obliged or bound to fight the United States or Israel for Khamenei or his Islamic Guards or whoever is left there. Another interesting moment, by the way, that I ask myself all the time is, all right, so ending the war in Ukraine, day one in his presidency, day one and 1 year and 1 month, something like that. I keep asking myself, how exactly will this operation continue? Because we know that 3 more days of strikes were announced by Israel and by the United States, but there are approximately 20,000 armed and extremely dangerous and crazy Islamic guards. The only way to deal with them is the land operation, which I don't actually see happening. All right, so we can see that they hit the leadership, they hit the military infrastructure, air defenses, missiles, nuclear infrastructure, and they expect the people to take over, but the problem is people don't have weapons. That's the biggest problem that we can see right now. Why did we have to partner with Israel? First of all, because Israel has intelligence, Israel has necessary military infrastructure that is located specifically very close to the target. That is why that was the decision. So that is why United States didn't do it alone. That was the whole purpose, all right? So returning to our topic, besides all that, all right, besides Russia's inability to actually militarily protect Iran, it may sound surprising, but Russia may actually benefit from this war in the Middle East. First of all, because the US operation in Iran, besides deflecting from Epstein files and stuff like that, but US decision maker attention is absorbed by this operation. Besides that, munitions, stockpiles, and logistic capacity are also absorbed by this operation, because otherwise they could be, for example, sold to Ukraine. All right, improve Ukrainian defense, including defense missiles, the air defense missiles that could also be sold to Ukraine. We saw different countries and United States military, by the way, literally like shooting those missiles in the air, massively trying to intercept Iranian missiles, and they probably noticed that it's not that easy, turns out. That is something that Russia can actually benefit, because this war is shifting attention from the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Besides that, there's an economical factor to this, specifically energy economics, because current escalation in Gulf is threatening oil shipping and gas shipping, which typically results in raising oil prices, which in turn helps financing the Russian war via the revenues from selling oil and gas. Besides that, the war increases Iran's dependence on Russia if the terrorist regime survives, or frankly speaking, even if it doesn't, because paradoxically, if Iran is devastated and battered, it might need air defense replacements, all right, aircraft parts. It may also need intelligence cooperation with somebody, all right, with its closest allies, and also sanctions, sanction evasion opportunities, all right. And Russia is basically one of the few capable suppliers of all that. Besides that, my friends, a big chunk of Iranian oil, nuclear, and military industry was built using Russian technologies. And even though the oil infrastructure wasn't hit much, all right, because there's absolutely no point in doing that, but we know that Iranian nuclear and military industry was devastated, and this means that the future leadership of Iran will have to actually cooperate with Russia in terms of rebuilding its infrastructure, its military capacities, and there will be absolutely no point in searching replacement somewhere else, all right? There's already existing foundation, Russian foundation, all right, in terms of technologies, in terms of all their nuclear infrastructure and stuff like that, and Russia will provide all the necessary help and supply, of course, expecting return of investments in the end. Please correct me if I'm wrong, all right? Uh, what do Trump and his oligarchy get out of this? High oil prices for American billionaires? Well, we will talk about this. Let me save this question, all right? And then we will return to this one. So, uh, what does all this mean to Ukraine? All right, we talked about several interesting factors why Russia didn't save Khamenei, and generally speaking, I think that they even offered Khamenei some convenient apartment next to Bashar Assad so they could drink vodka together and play Counter Strike via multiplayer, but he refused for some reason. Whatever, all right. So what does this operation, what does elimination of Khamenei actually mean for Ukraine and generally this whole current geopolitical situation? Because it's actually very interesting to analyze. And I have a hypothesis based on several facts that, again, I really want to know your opinion because I don't want this to be just conspiracy. I am trying to base my conclusions on facts. Okay, so we understand that if Putin gave Trump solid no to attacking Iran, Trump, of course, would never do that because we all know that Trump hates upsetting Putin just so much. He never condemns Putin for his war against Ukraine. He pushes Ukraine to give up land to Putin, which basically accomplishes Putin's military objectives in Ukraine, all right, at least some kind of minimal military objectives that he has. But of course, that is very, very minimal. That is literally if he has a gun pointed at him, told to stop the war, he will say, all right, we will only take Donbass from Ukraine, and that's basically it. And generally, Trump considers Putin his good friend. He invites him to Alaska. They talk a lot, and from what they talk on the phone, all right, from coming from both of them, coming from their envoys, we know that they are basically very, very good friends. So, how does it even work? You know, the Maduro, Khamenei, they are Putin's friend, they are Trump's enemies, but at the same time, Ukraine is basically considered an enemy both by Putin and Trump. How does it work? So my hypothesis actually involves kind of conspiracy, all right? Like to me, this currently looks like a conspiracy, and I really, really hate it to be considered a conspiracy because at this point we don't have many evidence suggesting that it's not, all right. We don't have many evidence suggesting that Trump actually bargained Iran and Venezuela for Ukraine. So first of all, let's talk about facts. We know that US aid to Ukraine has largely withdrew, with Europe attempting to fill gaps and buy stuff for Ukraine from the United States. We also know about the high-level diplomatic pressure around the peace framework pushed by the United States, which is pressure on Ukraine, of course, regarding giving up its territories. And we can basically observe this very, very interesting visible pattern where Ukraine is treated as negotiable, while Venezuela and, of course, Iran are treated as arenas for decisive action for different reasons. And the question is, could there be actually a bargain between Trump and Putin? Like, I hit Iran and Venezuela, you get Ukraine instead. And this is something that I want to talk about today. So first of all, I'm suggesting to completely forget about Trump's bravado in the social media. He says that legendary nation of Iran suffering from Ayatollah's dictatorship and yada yada. All that is very, very good. And of course, it's true, but you will never hear Trump saying the same about Ukraine because obviously he hates Ukraine. Second thing, in his national strategy for the United States, that I'm sure a lot of you had opportunity to read and analyze, Trump specifically outlined cooperation with different far-right European folks, right, linked to Russia. To name just a few, Hungarian Jobbik, French National Front, British Reform, the dude who admitted that he was taking money from Russia, German AfD, and basically all of those who were exposed either going to Crimea or traveling to Moscow or attending Putin's military parades for the Victorgy Day, harboring Russian spies within their parties, etc., etc. So basically, all those folks are considered Trump's partners in Europe. Trump only recognizes cooperation with those political movements that are either linked to Putin or supporting Russian terrorism, nobody else. So please don't fool yourself thinking that Trump finally opened his eyes. All that is bullshit, my friends. So what would support the hypothesis, all right, that there was a bargain? What sorts of signals should we look for in the future to, let's say, confirm this hypothesis? First of all, US pressure on Kyiv that will spike immediately after the operation in Iran. I believe approximately 72 hours after the completion of this operation. So basically 3 days from now and 72 hours plus. So we should look for example for Russian demands being rewarded with the US acceptance. We already see a lot of different signs, US voting together with Russia in the United Nations or abstaining from voting against Russia, condemning Russia and stuff like that. So we might look for something similar, but specifically in terms of negotiations. That is one thing. Another thing is, I would say, abrupt US concessions on sanctions, territorial recognition, possibly, or possibly security guarantees that actually mirror Russian red lines. We know from different sources, especially from, let's say, top Ukrainian leadership, that United States actually agreed on security guarantees, but again, we don't know much details, all right? So there is nothing we can actually confirm here. Besides that, we should look, for example, for unusual restraint towards each other. I'm talking US and Russia during this operation in Iran, which, by the way, is already something that is happening, right? Because I personally don't see protests of Putin's political party Единая Россия somewhere in Moscow in front of the US embassy. They simply don't give a damn, all right? Except, of course, for a couple statements that were made in the United Nations on the television. A bunch of Russian bloggers and meal bloggers actually cursing everybody in the Telegram channels before, as long as they still have it, all right, before they lose it. So that is something that we can see. But official Russian reaction, guys, you can see the difference. For example, Ukraine is attacked every single day in the European Parliament. Generally, on the level of European countries, on the level of top leadership, every single day. 4 years straight, you can hear Russia is a terrorist state. Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. Russia is atrocious terrorist regime, killing people, stealing children, stuff like that. We can hear this happening all the time. This voice will not be suppressed ever, all right? Coming from Ursula von der Leyen, coming from all sorts of European presidents, prime ministers. This is the reaction that keeps coming from the European decision makers. Russia, it's very bad that you killed Khamenei. Evil West, that is freaking it. Basically, that is the whole reaction, all right? And that is something that already confirms that Putin doesn't really care much about the fate of current Iranian regime and about his influence in Iran, maybe because he's not really worried about his influence in Iran and the future of this influence. So realistically, what we can see today is that Trump is, of course, pursuing wins in the media. We're talking the exercising of domestic narratives, and Putin also exploits the vacuum in the support for Ukraine and also distraction of a Middle East operation from the Russian war in Ukraine. They both, like, if I was absolutely unbiased military strategist, I would say that they both avoid directly colliding with each other while pursuing their separate goals and stuff like that. But of course, I'm a biased Ukrainian. You all know that. So in the next 72 hours and 3 days, I would look for, first of all, oil price changes, how much the dynamic of those prices will change. I would also look for, some kind of Russia's help to Iran. All right. We're talking symbolic statements like attacking Iran is bad versus real actions. Will they happen? Will they not happen? Which I don't see happening much, all right? Most probably after the finishing of this operation, most probably then Russia and Iran, whatever the current management, the leadership of Iran will be, okay, they will be talking about the restoration of Iran, restoration of Iranian infrastructure and stuff like that. Also, US narratives on Ukraine. We should look for that as well. Any concrete decisions on aid or sanctions or negotiating posture immediately following the operation in Iran, we should also look for that. Also, European posture, because if Europe accelerates its aid to Ukraine in order to compensate, basically Russia's hopes will shrink, all right? And that is why we should also look for Trump's narratives on European Union. That would also be a very, very good indicator. So that is my opinion on this. My friends, let me know what do you think about this one. Deflection from Epstein files, yes. I think if Epstein files never existed, most probably we would never even see some of those operations. Europe needs to man up 100%. Ukraine needs to plot and execute an operation taking out Vladimir Putin and the top echelons of the Russian government. We kinda do this with current Russian military leadership. The problem is that there's like a lot of generals in Russia. Russians love breeding generals. They help them launder the money, and that is why we keep eliminating them, but they fucking keep multiplying. The Russians keep eliminating Ukrainian generals, but Ukrainian generals keep respawning, all right? Ukrainian generals are like freaking Highlanders. They are invulnerable, but the Russian generals, they literally multiply like potato, That is why It's possible to eliminate them, but it's kind of hard. I think it's much more simple. Russia has nukes, Venezuela, Iran, and Syria did not. The US isn't going to risk nuclear Armageddon to assist Ukraine. That's all. I kind of agree with you, but only partially. Of course, we all know that Russia has nukes, and those nukes are used very, very effectively in the American media, all right? Like they are used the way they're supposed to be used. Like Joe Rogan screaming, nuclear apocalypse, fuck Ukraine, just die finally and just let us breathe, all right? But the problem is not United States attacking Russia. The problem is United States plainly helping Ukraine, for example, with air defense missiles, which we don't see. We hear like Scholz and Macron and other guys talking like we found 10 missiles for Patriots that we will send to Ukraine. They found like 3, they found like 5. We are collecting those missiles and we will be sending them to Ukraine. What a great success. Of course, there will be no direct collision between those two countries, but at the same time, I don't really see United States waging the hybrid warfare against Russia. While Russia invests literally budgets of small countries into hybrid warfare against United States, against European countries, and I'm not even mentioning the bullshit campaign, all right? That is something that we can see all the time. Joe Rogan is moron. There is no more intellectuals in American media. Joe Rogan is 100% moron. I agree on that. I don't know what to add to this. Joe Rogan was good before the war in Ukraine started. After that, his brain completely melted for some reason. It's an insult to Ukraine, like someone eating a massive cake in front of someone hungry. Yes, that is the thing, because, of course, Iran is not part of Russia. Russia doesn't even pretend to want to have Iranian land and stuff like that. And, of course, Khamenei is not Putin. That is the only reason why he was attacked. If he was Putin, that would be a different story. All right. Generally, if Iranians wanted to avoid American attacks, they could literally wear like Russian patches on every guard of the Islamic State, and nothing would happen. Right? They could just hang Russian flags all over the place, and not a single American missile would hit Iran. All right, because for the reasons we just explained. Cuba will surrender to have electricity and toilet paper, and that's not a joke. The infrastructure in Cuba is horrible. Yes, we all know that. I completely agree. On the other hand, there is constant ongoing military exercises between Cubans and Russians. In case it was kind of easy in Venezuela, all right, what sorts of Russians were there in Venezuela? Literally 100 Wagnerites and a Russian D general, all right, who was sent to Venezuela because he fucked up in Ukraine. In Cuba, it's a different story because they have literally Russian fleet parked or docked, sorry, in Havana, and they have constant military exercises. And we are talking about nuclear Russian submarines, we are talking about Russian destroyers, missile cruisers, and stuff like that. So that is taking place literally less than 100 miles from the Florida border, all right, from the Florida coast. I watched Rogan only once, an episode about magic mushrooms. I used to watch Rogan a lot before the war started because, first of all, he would invite sometimes very interesting guests, all right, Joko Willink, one of them. and also that biologist dude. All right, I forgot his name, but he's kind of very very interesting storyteller. Uh, then, of course, you realize when the war starts and those people start to speak about this, all right? Speak about you, telling that turns out that you're Nazi. Turns out that you have, you are to blame for being attacked and stuff. When they start speaking, of course, your opinion and attitude towards those people changed dramatically. Like like Louis C.K. All right, really funny dude. Before he opened his mouth, uh, trying to express his position on Ukraine, right? Did you see those young Ukrainians sharing pictures and laughing at Russian soldiers dying? Did you see that, motherfuckers? How can you laugh at poor Russian invaders dying? My ass literally has uh, more IQ than Louis C.K. in like 2022. All right. So, guys, please let me know what you think about my hypothesis, because this is actually something disturbing. I would not say that it's something surprising, but this is something very, very disturbing. All right. To me personally, because I have a feeling that Iran, Venezuela, most probably Cuba, but I'm not sure about this one, were traded for Ukraine. And again, I don't want to be a bad prophet, all right, but I will be expecting changing the US narratives, US strategy in terms of the negotiating framework regarding Ukraine. Most probably they will openly say that, fuck Ukrainians, no more intelligence for you, no more weapons at all, like Europe, fuck Europe, all right, and uh, simply give up or you will die, which, by the way, he already said several times, all right. Could what happened in Iran still be beneficial for Ukraine? If Ukraine, let me rephrase this one. I just almost said some fucking stupid shit. So theoretically, yes, but not militarily, all right? Politically, yes, there can be several interesting outcomes from this. First of all, we might probably learn the details, in case, of course, the regime changes, we might learn some interesting details on Russia's partnership with Iran. The details, like what sort of weaponry they traded all this time, what sort of technologies did Iran and Russia exchange after the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine? What was the scale of this support? And I would be very interested in learning, for example, how many Iranian officers were eliminated in Crimea during the strikes conducted by the Ukrainian defenders. I believe in 2023, because we had details about a bunch of Khamenei's puppets, Khamenei's soldiers, being obliterated in Crimea due to several successful strikes. What did they do in Crimea? Basically, they were training the Russian degenerates in operating the Shaheds and everything else. So I will be interested to learn about that. Besides that, the compensation for shooting down Ukrainian aircraft, Ukrainian Boeing, I believe in 2020 or 2021, when the Iranian air defenses shot down a civilian Boeing over Tehran. And even though they acknowledged that, fucking yes, we killed you, but they never paid any compensations to the Ukrainian families. That's basically almost a copy of what happened to MH17, all right? Russia didn't pay compensation. Russia didn't even acknowledge this, and they never will. All right, but the Iranian regime actually acknowledged. They admitted that, yeah, we shot down your airplane. Fuck you. All right. So that is another thing that I'm looking for, because several hundred Ukrainian people died on board due to this interception, and uh, they were never compensated. Like their families, relatives, they were never compensated for that. Rublio the other day said something like, "Not sanctioning Ukraine was their way of supporting Ukraine." Really? Oh shit! I think I missed this one. Cause that is just so beautiful. Americans are still cool people, I promise, my friend. I know that. No need to explain this to us. I know that Americans are amazing people. Uh, Ukraine is sanctioned by the US. Technically, we can say so. Technically, we can say so because, again, before Trump became a president, Ukraine had, I would say, not excessive, all right, not even enough of military support flowing into the country, all right, from the United States. Why not enough? Because Ukraine gave up fucking world's third largest nuclear arsenal. So American citizens could sleep peacefully. When I say that the military aid from the United States to Ukraine wasn't enough, that's probably even like underestimation, all right? So, like, understatement. So, yeah, it wasn't enough. But at the same time, when Trump became president, I cannot say that it stopped. We still kind of receive something. Our guys still kind of receive some shells here and there, but that's not even nearly comparable to what we had in even in 2023. I do want to say I completely agree that I don't think the leaders of the USA give a single paper from Budapest about Ukraine. Yes, yes, they basically forgot about it. Will the strike against Iran have an impact to deliveries from Iran to Russia, with all missiles used now against their neighbors? So, first of all, this works both ways. Of course, Russians will be receiving less Iranian missiles. All right, we know that Russians were using Iranian ballistic missiles against Ukraine. So drones, they don't use them anymore because they build their own Shaheds, like Iranian Shaheds, only built in Russia. But the Iranian missiles they did use. All right, so they will not receive those missiles anymore. But at the same time, because United States are currently spending their weaponry on striking Iran as well, Ukraine also will be receiving even less military supplies from the United States. I heard Japan is sending a lot of non-lethal aid. Yes, I heard that too. And of course, that's very important, specifically for Ukrainian civilian defense. Okay, but the most important thing that is probably like the most crucial for civilian defense right now is air defense, to defend civilians from the Russian ballistic missiles. I hope you can keep us updated if the weapons deliveries to Russia from Iran will have the same blows. Yeah, yeah. I don't think that Russia will be massively supplied by Iran these days. And the only thing I cannot answer so far is, will the regime change itself? Because I don't really see the land operation in Iran happening. If we're talking about the Islamic Guards, that's literally 20,000 men. Okay, uh, not majority of them was eliminated during those strikes. Of course, the barracks and their facilities were hit. But one thing is to hit the barracks, another thing is to hit the concentration of personnel itself. All right, those are two different levels. All right, the barracks, that is a strategic target, but the concentration of personnel is operational target. So you don't use your cruise missiles to strike concentration of personnel, of course. But there are approximately 25,000 Islamic Guards, the army of Iran. Where the hell is my device? Just a second, my friends. I need to know it myself, all right? Because only ChatGPT can answer this. Ah. Greetings to you, wise ChatGPT. Can you please answer me and our beautiful family there in the chat? What is the size of the Iranian defense forces? We're talking specifically Iranian army plus Iranian Islamic Guards combined. What is the size of their troops as of today?
Sure. Right now, the combined size of the Iranian military forces is roughly around 350,000 active personnel in the regular army, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, is estimated to have somewhere between about 125,000 to 190,000 active personnel. These numbers aren't always exact since there's limited official transparency, but that's the general range as of 2024.
So the combined personnel is approximately how many?
In total, if you add them up, you're looking at roughly around 500,000 personnel combined. It's a ballpark figure around 475,000 to maybe 500,000 troops total when you consider both the regular army and the IRGC.
Okay, so my friends, tell me this: how many people do you need in order to conduct a land operation in Iran, considering that the overall number of Iranian personnel that can be potentially involved in defending Iran is approximately 500,000 people? Even considering that it's an American army that we're talking about. So that is another question. That is why I don't really see this land operation taking place. The other analogy, of course, is the Gulf War. All right, 1991. That was a different story because, again, like Iraq, Saddam Hussein, and everything, they were crippled very, very fast. So I might be wrong here, but at this point, I don't really see this happening. Again, I might be wrong. So the problem with the civilian resistance in Iran is that they don't have weapons. There are approximately 5 Kurdish groups that, by the way, united recently in order to fight against the regime. But again, we are talking about 500,000 potentially soldiers that can be used by current Iranian regime. So I don't know. Don't forget about the training data for ChatGPT, which is only 2023. I know, that is why I specifically asked ChatGPT to talk about as of today, all right? Because if you specifically ask ChatGPT to analyze current data, he will actually Google and research the topic. In my 19-year army career, thank you for your service, and understanding an invasion force, I scale we would need approximately 450,000 troops in all ranges of army departments to take this down. Also, if we consider, for example, like post-Soviet military doctrine, I'm talking about our part of the world, like Eastern Europe, all right? So according to our doctrine, widespread in our part of the world, we would need 2 or 3 times more personnel than the defending forces to make it happen, which is like 1.5 million people, which is, by the way, something that Terror Russia is currently trying to achieve, because already in 2023 it was obvious that whatever troops they have invading Ukraine, that's not enough at all. In what capacity would the recent strikes impact the use of Shaheds in Ukraine? Is there a clear correlation? So yes, unfortunately, Terror Russia is currently producing them completely autonomously. They have a lot of people in Alabuga factory, literally hundreds of people working on those drones, hundreds of, if not thousands. And there's not only Russian people. We talked on the stream previously that they recruit people from Latin countries, from African countries as well. They literally trick the people. And there's like a lot of teenagers, by the way, coming from African countries that are being tricked with promises of employment, promises of education, and then they're sent straight to the Alabuga factory, where they are forced to assemble those drones. All right. Russia is a terrorist country. Russia is a terrorist state, and basically they are a slave owner state as well. The way they treat people from other countries, like cannon fodder, like disposable workforce, they are completely despicable. Again, not a lot of people understand the level of their atrociousness. Not a lot of people can actually get it. Close watch on Caspian Sea in case Iran sneaks more weapons to Russia. Sea babies on alert. Not sea babies, something that actually flies, all right, like FP drones, FP2, for example. Those are there watching all the time. How far do you think Ukraine will be able to keep pushing Russia back? Will Russia or Ukraine start to get the upper hand again? So we know that Ukraine will be able to conduct localized counteroffensives, which is something we already do successfully. The most recent was in the area of Pokrovsk, literally just this morning, it was reported. The upper hand is only possible in several cases. First of all, in case Russia introduces more international pressure on Ukraine, which I think is absolutely possible, considering that currently Putin has such an ally as Trump. And again, my friends, Khamenei wasn't as important for Putin as Trump is. Okay, let's remember about this one. This is very important to keep in mind. So it all depends on what sort of international pressure Russia will be able to put on Ukraine through people like Trump. Besides that, we already know about the new goal of our new defense minister, who said that we should be able to eliminate roughly 50,000 Russian terrorists a month, which is more than they are able to recruit. So in case it's happening, the Russians will be launching the mobilization. They will be mobilizing their reservists and send those reservists straight to feed Ukrainian drones, all right, in the tree lines, and that will prolong the war. It won't. It doesn't mean that Russia will have upper hand in terms of scale of its offensives, but it means that it will have upper hand in terms of time span. All right, that is also important to remember because Russia can fight the way they fight for decades until, I don't know, Putin dies of like old age or gonorrhea or whatever, or breaks his high heel, falls down, and stuff like that. Shit happens. Iran named a new leader already. Replacing experienced generals will be more difficult. What we know about the Iranian army? So first of all, we know that Iranian army wasn't involved massively in attacking the protesters during those protests. All right, the Iranian army primarily, which I'm not sure if you know about this, but Iranian army primarily consists of old generals and old officers who served like back before 70s during the regime of the previous king. All right, so the old army comes from those times, and of course they might be extremely old already, but some of them are still there. All right, some of them still remember those times. So the biggest problem is, of course, Iranian guards and corrupted Iranian police. Those are completely atrocious. Iranian army, not so much. Ukraine needs to start sending thousands of missiles into Moscow. 100%, I would love to see this happening, but unfortunately, there is no magic button, like in the strategy games that you just press and say, build like several thousand, and in 1 year you have like 10,000 missiles that you can just launch. Kremlin, Sызрань, Tambov, Ust-Pizduysk, Mukhasransk, and other beautiful places. Your thoughts on the Ukrainian drone operators who dismantled NATO in the recent exercise? Actually, we talked about that. First of all, if you want to see the most detailed report, please check out Weapons of War on UATV. I actually broke down, Jesus Christ, reviewed this case, okay? So my personal opinion is that NATO troops are very good, but they are preparing for the past wars. While Russia and Ukraine, of course, are already inventing the wars of the future, the doctrine of the future. So it's not like NATO troops are bad, but they really, really need to change their doctrine. And also the way they use the vehicles during the operations. Do you think Ukraine will ever develop a plutonium-based weapons? Oh, I don't think so. No. I don't think so because unlike other countries, Ukraine actually keeps its word and doesn't violate memorandums. Is Ukraine prepping Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk Oblast to form the new buffer zone following Ukraine's victory? I believe so. I believe so. There are so many Ukrainian-speaking people there, by the way, in those lands, because in 19th century, no, wait, in 20th century, early in 20th century, those lands were actually Ukrainian, as far as I remember. As far as I remember, I'm so old. I remember those times, when everything was better. Oil prices will increase and the US will use missiles from the stockpiles in Iran. So sadly, this war is bad news for Ukraine. Yes, yes, unfortunately. Like politically, it's amazing news. Absolutely, absolutely. But militarily and strategically for Ukraine, I really don't see the necessary level of support from one of our main allies the way we expected, okay? Was the best charity, in my opinion, the best charity? I think vehicles. If you want to make a difference, check out Car for Ukraine and help those guys. Okay, that would be like the best non-lethal charity for Ukrainian army. Ukraine needs to stop begging America go alone. Uh, so on one hand, based on the messages we can see today coming from the White House, yes, like it's absolutely obvious decision. We all look forward to actually take this decision, all right, to adopt it. But on the other hand, I remember like 1994, and this one I actually remember because I was like 9 years old when I was asking the grown-ups, like, why do we agree to like give up so many like bombs, all right, and ICBMs? What will United States give us in return for that? And everybody goes, well, security guarantees, Andrew, like you will grow up in a safe place, in safe country, and your kids, our like grandkids, will be also safe because United States will protect us. They promised, we have memorandum signed, so everything will be fine. We don't need to be afraid of anybody invading us or bombing our cities and stuff. And at this point, you can see in 2026 a very, very interesting picture, right? A very, very interesting picture when Ukraine is being bombed on a daily basis, all right? And I'm talking like children's hospitals, maternity hospitals, and things like that. And a bunch of fucks wearing red hats say, you should fucking just forget about United States. We have our things to do, okay? Fuck you. And better give up your territories or die, because we are already so fed up with your fucking war that would not have started if Trump was a president. So that's what we see nowadays. Trump has 6 bankruptcies. Yeah, I heard about that one. His politics are not better, unfortunately, than his, economical skills. Preston Stewart is currently fitting up an entire brand new brigade with cars and more thoughts, more through all of 2026 with Car for Ukraine. Yes, yes. I also highly suggest to support Preston Stewart, Car for Ukraine specifically. Please check out the website of Car for Ukraine. You might find whatever project, whatever fundraiser you like. There was my fundraiser for my brigade. We already fundraised for a truck, which, by the way, thank you so much, my friends. That is a very, very big deal to me, and that car is already there in my brigade. And you can easily support any fundraiser there on Car for Ukraine. Three casinos, steaks, vodka, school, and many others. How can you bankrupt vodka? How can you possibly fucking bankrupt vodka. I think you should have some special talent to make this happen. Shit. Okay, I don't have coffee, but I have something else instead. Cheers. Tell Trump you name cities after him, and then maybe he have his narcissism satisfied. I don't know, seriously. Look, currently Putin is talking about like gazillion of dollars that Trump can receive due to trading with Russia, Russia selling its resources. And we actually talked about this on the previous stream together with Philip Page. So Putin wanted to protect his resources from United States, which is something that they say in like every Russian propaganda show. United States, evil West wants Russian resources, so we have to protect our women, children, and our metals and stuff from evil West. So now he wants to trade those resources, so United States will help Russia to finish the war. Russia started in order to protect these resources from United States. I don't know how it works. Is it true that vodka is a shortened version of water of life? I don't know. Like we better ask ChatGPT actually, because I am not a big expert in vodka. I only drank it like when I was a teenager. Never after that. Never after I became a bit more smarter. Or invent a Ukrainian Peace Prize and award him with it. Like, yeah, actually that might work. I think at this point, like both Russia and Ukraine are fucking spamming Trump, all right, with all sorts of different gifts, presents. I don't know. Maybe the problem with Ukrainians, the problem with our mentality is that we are not really accustomed to appeasing motherfuckers. Like, we are not accustomed to bow in front of like narcissistic degenerates and shit. We have it in our culture. Like recently we talked with my lady yesterday. We were in this amazing tiny town in North Rhine-Westphalia called Soest. Yeah, it's very beautiful. The population is literally a few thousand people. It's like tiny medieval town with medieval houses, very cute. And my lady, she comes from Iran, and she is like, when you look at Germans, one thing that impresses her, I mean, is that they don't care about showing off, their welfare. Like when you visit somebody's apartment, it's cute, it's convenient, and that's it. When you visit, for example, Iranian apartment, doesn't matter if it's rich family or poor family, you see like thousands of dishes, gold everywhere, stuff, exquisite furniture and everything, because they want to make good impression, and also because like basically you are born to get married, all right? Therefore you have to have like rich environment in your home. And I'm explaining that in Ukraine we also have this shit, okay? So this shit is primarily widespread in Ukraine among like oligarchs, all right, like former bandits that spent their youth like doing their time somewhere in the prison, and after they became powerful and rich, they yes, Cossacks don't take shit from anyone, 100%. That's what I'm trying to explain. So oligarchs, like people with very very primitive mind, generally, they like to show off. Like they invite their friends, all right, and they say like, "Look, my palace looks better than Mar-a-Lago," and everybody's like, "Yeah, your wealth is good. My wealth is also good, but your wealth is impressive, you know." And I will just show you something because why not? Okay, where is the K letter? Okay, so we had a former prosecutor in Ukraine. He was part of the regime of Viktor Yanukovych. All right, he fled to Russia. So we arrested his apartment, and after we did that, his apartment actually gave birth to a meme. We call it Pshonka style. His last name was Pshonka, and his wealth gave birth to the new meme in Ukraine. We call it Pshonka style. It's when you are showing off your wealth so bad, so it becomes fucking funny. And yeah, that's the dude, actually. Of course, you can imagine that being a humble general prosecutor in Ukraine, of course, you cannot allow yourself or afford yourself fucking golden toys, golden icons everywhere, like that's him with Yanukovych and shit. Of course, you cannot afford having all that. Oh, that's his portrait, my friends. I shit you not. It was in his office. Okay, and that is the best indication of horrible taste. So unfortunately, we still have people with like this kind of mentality that kind of invite others, you know, like, oh, you have like Porsche Cayenne, you are a loser because I have Maserati, all right. And then they go and show off their wealth in front of each other. I don't understand this. Majority Ukrainians don't understand this because majority Ukrainians grew up in they have very, very poor background, and that is why we don't understand it when you spend money on shit like this, okay? Like, we don't understand how it's even possible if you spend your money buying like holy icons that cost millions of dollars, like combined, all right. And like this curtain also costs like more than my both kidneys. Instead of putting those money into a good use, like in Ukrainian culture, we don't understand this, but Ukrainians who can actually afford that, they have fucked up mentality, like Russians, by the way. And that is why when we look at, for example, Trump's attempts, all right, to decorate, for example, Oval Office with gold and shit, that's immediately what comes to my mind and the minds of other Ukrainians. Pshonka style. That's literally that's the case. We already experienced this shit, all right. We already experienced it. Why we started talking, bro? The curtain costs more than the curtain definitely costs more than my house. For example, the curtains in Yanukovych's palace, which was way bigger than this one. All right, those curtains would cost something like 30 million hryvnias. 30 million hryvnias divide by five. Sorry, divide by 30. You would, yeah, that's like $1 million for curtains. 30, I mean like older money, all right, older prices. So $1 million for a curtain. How do you like that? How is the process of cleaning up the post-Soviet corruption proceeding in Ukraine? Not an overweight. Look, we are working on that. Okay, and from the very fact that you can read about this in the media, actually, we can make conclusion that the fight continues. And yo, Sean, hello, my friend. So good to see you. It's been a while. The fight continues because this stuff is very, very hard to destroy. It was brought to Ukraine by decades of being occupied by Russian Bolsheviks, Russian communists, and basically the corruption in Ukraine is this amazing gift straight from the beautiful Russian world. Okay, therefore it takes some time to destroy it completely. All right, because a lot of generations of people were actually raised in this shed. Okay, but I can say that it's successful. I served in the National Guard and in the police. Okay, so I was state employee at some point of my life. So I can say that I knew about cases of corruption, and later on, like 2015, 16, and all the way to like 2024, I can say the situation was improving big time. While in like 2012, the cops would openly talk about how many bribes they should take because they need to fuel their cars, because the police department doesn't fuel your car. You got to do it yourself from your pocket. So they were openly discussing how much bribes they need for that. Okay, how much money they should collect from people somewhere in the open air market. So in 2018, you could not even imagine to hear this. 2018, the changes were so dramatic. So even on the level of like ministry, whatever level of ministry or level of local police department, you would talk to people and they would actually talk about like that motherfucker, like he's a corrupted fuck. Like we gotta report him because he's a disgrace to this place. Okay, because since 2015, Ukraine actually reformed the police. We have new patrol police, which was based, by the way, on United States cops, Canadian cops, British cops. I don't remember, but I remember that Germans also helped big time. Yeah, but primarily we had a lot of instructors coming from the United States, also SWAT instructors, and our guys actually changed a lot. There are some cases, like recently there was a crazy update about two cops being actually arrested for like kidnapping and torturing some lady because they wanted money from her. They were caught and they are already doing their time. All right, they were caught, convicted, and they're doing their time. And it's to me, it's amazing to read those news in the media because it means that the fighting continues. All right, as a former cop, of course, I feel fucking shame when I read that shit. Because how the hell do you even allow this to happen? But on the other hand, there are different people, and some of those people they can pretend to be amazing, good, and kind, all right? And you would never suspect that they are the motherfuckers. But I enjoy reading those news because it means that several fuckers less, all right? Several more fuckers went straight to prison, and we will not see them for a very, very long time, which means that police in Ukraine become cleaner and better. And by the way, this is something that I completely enjoy talking about. Because when people start, oh, like, let's not talk about our corruption. Guys, we have media, we have to talk about this. We have to present something, all right, to the people that support Ukraine. Because, fuck, Otherwise, we would not respect ourselves. I started hearing people ask, what happens if YouTube gets taken down? Oh my God, nothing bad, nothing extremely bad happens, all right, because life will go on, okay? Life will find a way. I got very nice curtains last month. Jack peed on them. They're beautiful now. After the washing machine. Is Jack a human being? Just asking, because different things happen from time to time. Talking about curtains, you might need to get some, or your eyes are about to be blinded by the sun. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's like, I don't know, aliens are trying to scan me right now, you see? Oh my God. Yeah, I think I gotta buy some. Maybe I should like block this place from sun forever, you know. Because generally I stream either in the morning early when there's no sun at all, or like late in the evening. Ukrainian woman working for an American IT company said that she's been replaced by AI. Yes, yes, we will be seeing more of that. I know that, for example, currently AI is responsible for all sorts of like client support and stuff like that when you needed people, and when you needed people to help people, all right? So now those employees are not mandatory to have. So AI basically does everything, but I would not trust AI at this point. Trump has no power to shut YouTube off. Yes, I agree, but he has power to throttle some of the channels that he doesn't like. I'm sorry, I have to get this off my chest. Those apartments screamed a little dick energy. Yes, yes, I agree with you. That's literally the reason why, for example, rich people buy big cars, because they want everybody to know, okay? That's the reason I have like the biggest car in Ukraine. I have like fucking Jeep. There are AI presenters on UATV, because why not? That's like a very interesting experiment, I would say. Ukrainian window plywood instead of glass. Yeah. So before the full-scale invasion, we had this kind of fashion, when you would stick a bunch of scotch on your window. Like when you go to Donbass, for example, before 2022, you would see, for example, windows with like those crosses, crisscrossed with scotch, because people believed that that might somehow save them. Spoiler, it cannot. I wish AI could take out my trash and clean my apartment and other annoying things. I wish AI could cook sushi, actually. Uh, Recently I've seen some advertisement of like, imagine kitchen, all right, like your very own kitchen. Now imagine this being like a machine with like glass screen, all right, and like mechanical hands inside. So you put a lot of different ingredients like rice, potato, whatever, meat, And in the morning, you walk to your kitchen, like, what do I want? I want like French fries and chicken. And the stuff starts cooking everything automatically, taking ingredients, preparing everything. 10 minutes, you have your pommes mit, shit, pommes mit Hähnchen, right? Uh, and the only thing you need is to just replace the ingredients, and this stuff is so cool. The window tape was to reduce glass shards. Yes, but it's not always possible. The sun is like it's pursuing me. Let me move here. Okay. Luckily, I have big screen. Be prepared to get hired by AI agents to do physical things because AI doesn't yet have hands. Yeah, we will be its hands at some point. Regarding pre-war Donbass windows, they believed that would save them from what? Squirrels? They believed that would probably save them from shockwave or something. But shockwave sometimes is so strong, so those windows just fly inside and damage the wall they strike. All right. After the explosion that takes place outside the house somewhere, so like they destroy furniture. Not like there's no way the scotch actually saves. Believe me, I tried. Maybe the KGB is also pursuing you. I don't think so. Like, I'm a bald old man. There's nothing. There's nothing they can do to me to make me suffer. All right. Buy some nori, make your own. Yeah, I agree on that. That's something I want to do in the nearest future. Because frankly speaking, sushi is like kind of expensive. I decided that it's much easier to cook your own. The tape is to catch glass shards, nothing more, and sometimes it's not enough. Like, yeah, you will catch like 5% of shards, maybe. All right, doesn't help at all. Based on leaked audio recordings released in November 2025, Martin Bailey, a vice president of informational security at Campbell's Soup Company, like that's the end of the commentary, unfortunately. All right, good to know. I'm the only one that is allowed to shed inside my house. I hope you're doing it like in the proper place, my friend. Yeah. Speaking as a 54-year-old, you're not in your element and prime. That only depends on how you feel on the inside, because, like, looking at, let's see. For example, let's take a look at some of the typical Russian. Oh shit. Typical Russian soldiers, okay. Like, look at those guys. Oh my god. Not the Huilo, I'm talking about those. Yeah. Like, look at them. To me, personally, like, they look not bad as for their, like, 20s. They preserved themselves, let's say, not in the worst way. All right. Could be worse. So primarily it depends on how you feel on the inside, how you feel yourself. Sometimes you feel like you're 16. The other time you might feel like you're 66. So yeah, young Russian soldier. There's a lot of them. Holy shit. Why, when you look at Russians, and I'm sure a lot of you actually asked yourself this question, like, why every single time you look at the Russian invaders, you realize that 100% of them actually look like degenerates? What is wrong with the Russians? And I gotta say that actually there's a reason we call them orcs, okay? There's like a reason behind it. It's not because we are racist or something. We are just realistic, all right? This one is legendary. Yeah, brother. Practically children. 100%. What is on his head? Is that a sock? I think that is his girlfriend. Starsky, where's my Russian dude in the vest? Russian dude in the vest? Which one? Which one? Please remind me. So many fifth generation mutated vodka strongs. Yeah. Do you remember these two dudes? One was cannibal, other a serial killer who met in Ukraine and became best friends. I will show you some actual best friends. Like, just give me a second. Where was that? There it was. There it is. So I want to show you actually a story of real friendship and love in by Russians, all right, real Russian friendship and love in Ukraine, all right. So here you can see a footage made by a Ukrainian drone that actually captured traditional Orthodox Russian brothership on the front line right there. Please check it out. I don't even know how to actually comment this one. All right. Actually, yeah, actually, it reminds me of something. I will explain what specifically, all right? Like, yeah, there you can see, like, one of them decided to distract the drone, all right, and save it from his orthodox, traditional, heterosexual Russian brother. It reminds me, like 2022 or 2023, when like two Russians were spotted somewhere. Wait, was it in like Bakhmut? I think it was Bakhmut, 2023, when the two Russians were spotted in the ruins by a Ukrainian drone. All right, and they were doing something. Not sure if one of them was standing on his knees and tried to like inflate the other one. All right, or something like that. That was kind of strange to see. Did that guy just run away with his pants around his ankles? Well, yeah. I mean, they're after all they are traditional Russian, heterosexual, white, and stuff. Mega idols right there. Okay, so yeah, most obviously. And so those two were like busy, showing each other brotherly love somewhere in the ruins. And then a cunning Ukrainian drone just like dropped the bomblet on them. And They died. They died like brothers. So this reminds me like one of those episodes. But why are Russian women so beautiful when their men look like they have been hit by a truck? Because beauty is a very subjective thing, all right? All Russians are heterosexual. Yes, almost. Almost. A completely hetero game of hide the sausage. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Do you want a joke? So, son returns from school and tells his mom, says, "Mom, you know what we did in school with the boys? So we went to the bathroom, we put our pants down, and we like compared our cocks, and mine was the longest one. How do you like that?" And she's like, "Oh my boy, you're so smart, you know." The dad sitting like on the couch jumps, like throws his newspaper, like, "That's because you are 40 fucking years, Donald, and you are an imbecile." Uh, just a second. Just a second. Yeah. What have I awakened to? Oh, some crazy, cringy joke. All right, on Starsky's channel. They're so hetero, they don't question it even with a dick in their. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We all saw that on numerous videos from the Russian positions. Oh yeah, yeah. That's what he would say in his social media. 100%. Russian men are so masculine that they simply reject anything feminine. So they have sex with men. Yeah, yeah. That's actually yeah. That's the case. Russian sports. Oh my god. As long as they don't reach around, they're straight. Uh, I still remember that cringe when they invited this Vietnamese? Yeah, Vietnamese musician, the gay musician who actually won the Russian contest, and then the Russian public all of a sudden learned that he was not a traditional man. All right, he was not like this, stereotypical that Russians portray on their television, stereotypical masculine dude. That he actually liked other men. He made video about them and stuff. And after that, Russians stopped talking about this dude forever. That was kind of cringe. I heard in Russian prisons they frown on men going down on women. Yeah, Russian prison. Jesus, that's like a. One day I will dedicate a specific stream to this one, because like Russian prison, like if you want to understand Russian culture, you gotta understand the Russian prison, and that will explain a lot about things that take place in the Russian army, in the Russian parliament, Russian everyday's life. The reason they are basically sociopaths, all right. You can you can gauge how barbaric a society is by how they treat gay people or minorities. I agree on this one, and you know why? Because look at history, all right? Historically, if you want to unite imbeciles, all right, if you want to unite degenerates, because generally speaking, their number in any society, in any country, is quite large. So, okay, not really educated people, all right. So when you want to unite them around something, the easiest way is to unite them based on hatred towards whoever. Ukrainians, Chechens, I don't know, um, Americans, Evil West, all right? Just unite them based on the idea of hatred, all right? And tell them that they want you to die. We have to protect ourselves from, I don't know, evil Westerners or evil Ukrainians. This huge Ukraine that wants to invade our tiny peaceful Russia, or I don't know, those evil Haitians eating your dogs and cats. Yeah, scapegoating. Yes, exactly. So be it like evil Westerners or Ukrainians or Jews or you name it. It's very easy to actually make it happen. Unfortunately, history already knows how exactly you can do that and what you need to make it possible. And even though we keep repeating never again, but it never works. Unfortunately, we need to remind people the hard way that yes, you stick the fingers into the electric socket, that's exactly what you can expect. You don't believe me, you can always try, but don't tell me I didn't warn you. Speaking of Russian prisons, yes, this one is actually true. I've heard in Russia they're putting more people in jail, threatening to for crimes that they haven't been committed, so that they sign contracts. Yes, again, like previous stream, I showed this video, and I will show it for you one more time, just so you could understand how actually desperate Russians are these days in terms of recruiting, right? Recruiting new meat for their so-called special military operation. That is literally only one city, my friends. That is the city of Novosibirsk. Just check out the overwhelming amount of billboards, and that's like 1% of what you can see there. Russia is openly calling their cannon fodder to sign contracts. Specifically, there are advertisements of UAV operator, yeah. UAV operator. They understand the trend. They need UAV operators these days, and they advertise it massively. They recruit students from their schools, colleges, and stuff. because the Russian so-called special military operation is so successful in 2026, so they have no other choice but to recruit 18-year-old boys from like schools, recruit mercenaries in African countries, also go to North Korea and pay huge money that could be otherwise spent on building sewers in Russian villages, but they are spending huge money in North Korea to build shells because Russia cannot do it anymore, and buying golf carts because Russia has no tanks. Russia is just so successful. Okay, my dear friends, I think I will be trying to find, find something to feed myself because, frankly speaking, it's after lunch and um, I didn't even have breakfast. All right, I committed a crime against myself, so I will probably run to kitchen and get myself something real quick. In the meantime, I would like to say big thanks to everyone. Again, in the comments, please leave your opinions on my hypothesis. All right, tell me I'm wrong. Seriously, tell me that I'm completely fucking wrong. I don't understand anything in the geopolitics. You can comment that I don't know, like Trump plays 10D chess, all right, or stuff like that. I will still respect your thought. And let me know what is your thought generally on the future, what we should expect. All right, because that's something I really, really want to know. I want to know if we are on the same page. Have a good one, bro. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, James. I definitely will. All right. So I have like a bunch of spaghetti there, and I will try. So, with that, my dear friends, thank you so much. Big thanks to all the moderators and members of my channel. You are legendary. Big thanks to all the supporters of Ukraine, democracy, and freedom. Thank you so much for standing with my country and standing for the proper values. If you stand against far-right, white Nazi supremacist motherfuckers, if you stand against far-left communist plague, and if you stand against perverted oligarchs who love little children, we are on the same page with you, my friends. We are fighting against filthy shit together. Thank you so much. I'll see you later. Be safe and also treat yourself with something good. It's extremely, extremely important, all right? I will remind you every single time. Thank you so much and be safe. Bye-bye.